Before dawn broke over the city, the towering silhouette of Sterling Tower stood shrouded in darkness, its glass walls reflecting the faintest glimmers of streetlights below. Inside, Gloria moved silently through the marble corridors, her worn mop gliding over the cold floors with practiced grace. She was invisible to most, a mere shadow, a whisper in the grand symphony of corporate power playing out above her. Yet Gloria's eyes were wide open, sharp and unwavering. 9 years of early mornings and late nights had taught her to see beyond the polished facades, to notice what others missed. A hurried footstep behind closed doors, a discarded document where it shouldn't be, a stolen glance filled with secrets. This morning something was different. As she approached the executive suite on the top floor, Gloria's heart tightened in her chest. Her gaze caught a figure hunched over a desk, the faint glow of a computer screen illuminating his tense face. It was Calvin, Nathan Reed's closest confidant, the man who smiled too easily and lingered too long in the shadows of power. Gloria had never trusted him. Today she saw why. Calvin's hands moved furtively, pulling open drawers and rifling through confidential files. Her breath hitched when she spotted the unmistakable act, a signature being forged, a document copied in the dead of night, betrayal inked in every stroke. Fear gnawed at her. Fear of losing the job that barely paid her rent, fear of speaking up and being crushed by the unforgiving machinery of wealth and influence. But deeper than fear was a surge of something stronger, courage born from years of silence, an unyielding sense of justice that refused to be quiet. She wiped her hands on her apron, swallowed hard, and waited for the moment Nathan would arrive. The elevator's soft ding broke the stillness, and the doors slid open to reveal the young CEO stepping out, dressed in a suit as sharp as his reputation. His eyes met hers for a fleeting second, a flicker of recognition that made Gloria's throat tighten. With trembling voice and racing heart she called out, "Sir, your friend. He isn't who you think he is. He's doing something that could ruin everything you've built." The words escaped before doubt could take hold. Nathan paused, his face unreadable, caught between disbelief and the weight of her warning. The air thickened with unspoken tension, the silence pressing down like a heavy fog. Gloria's eyes searched his for any sign of trust or thanks, but there was none. Instead, he turned and walked away, leaving her standing alone in the dim light, a single beacon of truth in a world veiled by shadows. The moment Gloria spoke, a fragile thread of courage wove through her veins, steadying her trembling hands and quickening her pulse. She had never been one to confront power, to disrupt the polished world where wealth and influence dictated the rules. Yet, something inside her demanded to be heard, a voice rising from years of quiet observation and unspoken truths. As Nathan's figure receded down the corridor, the weight of his silence settled heavily on her shoulders. The echo of her words lingered in the cold marble halls, unanswered, as if swallowed by the very walls that witnessed secrets no one dared reveal. Her heart pounded with a mix of hope and dread. Had she overstepped? Was her warning just a foolish leap into a void? Each tick of the clock stretched time into unbearable tension. She returned to her duties, mop in hand, but her eyes no longer saw the usual cleanliness of the floors. Instead, they scanned for signs of retribution, an angry glance from a supervisor, whispers behind closed doors, the shadow of dismissal looming like a storm on the horizon. Hours crawled by like a slow, suffocating breath. The building, usually bustling with urgent decisions and hurried footsteps, seemed to hold its breath too. Gloria's nerves flared, her every instinct screaming that the silence was not peace, but the calm before a tempest. Yet, amidst the silence, a quiet resilience grew. She had spoken her truth, even if it echoed unanswered for now. As the next morning's pale light seeped into the windows, the air outside the building shifted. Security trucks rumbled into position, armed guards appeared where none had before, and whispers of upheaval flickered through the corridors like a sudden storm warning. Gloria felt a shiver, not of fear but of vindication, as Nathan's somber eyes met hers on the top floor. There was no anger in his gaze, no reprimand. Instead, a profound acknowledgement, the unspoken gratitude of a man who had finally seen what others could not, all because one quiet voice dared to break the silence. As dawn broke over the city skyline, casting a golden glow through the towering glass windows of the Langford building, a new chapter quietly began, one bathed not in wealth or power, but in the fragile light of truth finally revealed. Gloria sat just inside the office, her heart a whirlwind of emotions, nervous anticipation, cautious hope, and a deep sense of validation. The walls around her, once silent witnesses to secrets and deception, now seemed to hum with the weight of justice unfolding. Nathan led her to a sleek monitor, the screen flickering to life with grainy surveillance footage. Moments caught in shadow, a betrayal captured in cold clarity. There was Cal, moving stealthily through the corridors, rifling through private files as if the empire Nathan had built was no more than a fragile glass house. The footage was irrefutable. Signatures forged, confidential documents copied, whispers of treachery laid bare with every frame. Gloria's eyes widened, disbelief melting into a fierce sense of relief. She had seen the truth when no one else dared to look. Nathan's voice broke the silence, steady but thick with unspoken emotions. "You saved my company. You saved everything we've built." The words washed over Gloria like a bomb, yet beneath them lingered the realization that her life was about to change irrevocably. No longer just a cleaner in the shadows, she was now a guardian of integrity, a beacon in a world too often blinded by status and titles. In that quiet, powerful moment, the dawn was not just of a new day but of a new destiny. Gloria understood that courage is not measured by grand gestures but by the willingness to speak the truth, even when the world seems deaf. As the city awakened beyond the windows, so too did a newfound respect and hope within her, a promise that the unseen, the unheard, and the overlooked could be the greatest force of all. Nathan's eyes held a quiet gratitude as he looked at Gloria, a woman whose courage had pierced the veil of deceit that threatened to unravel everything he had worked so hard to build. There were no grand speeches or hollow praises, just a solemn, profound acknowledgement that spoke louder than words ever could. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope, its weight symbolic of a new beginning, a gesture that promised change and recognition. Gloria's fingers trembled slightly as she accepted the envelope, her heart pounding with a mix of disbelief and hope. Inside lay a paycheck that was 5 times what she had ever earned before, a tangible sign that her bravery and integrity were not only seen but deeply valued. It wasn't just money. It was respect, validation, and a chance to rewrite her story. No longer just the silent cleaner who passed unnoticed, she was being invited into a new world where her voice mattered, where her observations could shape the future of the company. Nathan's words were simple but powerful. "From today, you're not just cleaning floors. You're joining our integrity team, the people who see what others overlook." The shift was monumental, a transformation from invisibility to influence, from silence to empowerment. Gloria's eyes glistened with unshed tears, not for the money, but for the recognition that she mattered, that her truth had changed the course of lives. With this act of gratitude, Nathan also acknowledged a deeper truth, that greatness often comes from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the smallest voices carry the loudest warnings. Gloria's courage became a beacon, inspiring not only Nathan but everyone who heard her story to look beyond appearances, to listen more closely to the quiet truths whispered in the background of power and prestige. In that moment, the unspoken promise hung in the air, a promise of fairness, justice, and a future where integrity would no longer be overshadowed by greed or betrayal. It was a thank you not just spoken but lived, etched into the fabric of a company reborn, and into the heart of a woman who dared to speak out and change everything. From the moment Gloria stepped into her new role, her life began to shift in ways she had only dreamed of during those long, silent nights spent cleaning empty hallways. The weight of invisibility that once clung to her like a second skin began to lift, replaced by a quiet confidence that blossomed with each passing day. No longer was she just a shadow gliding past polished floors. She was now a vital force within the company, entrusted with protecting its core values, watching over its integrity like a guardian whose eyes missed nothing. Every morning, as dawn painted the city skyline in soft hues of pink and gold, Gloria arrived early, badge gleaming proudly against her modest blouse. The badge marked her new identity, not just as a cleaner or an unnoticed worker, but as an internal operations analyst, someone whose insight was not only welcomed but sought after. Her colleagues began to see her differently. The casual nods replaced by genuine smiles, the whispered questions turning into thoughtful conversations. She carried herself with a grace born from knowing her worth. Her past struggles etched in every deliberate step she took. But beneath the surface of this new chapter lay the quiet humility that had always defined her. Gloria never sought revenge for the years of disregard, nor did she crave fame or fortune. Her motivation was simple yet profound: to do what was right, to stand for truth even when no one else would. It was this unshakable spirit that had changed not only her destiny but also the culture within the towering glass walls she once merely cleaned. Nathan, now more grounded and wise, often reflected on the lessons Gloria had taught him without saying a word: the power of attentiveness, the courage in silence, and the strength found in unexpected places. He began to trust less in titles and more in the people whose stories were usually overlooked, realizing that sometimes the quietest voices held the loudest truths. Gloria's story became a ripple that spread beyond the company, a reminder that every person, regardless of their role or background, carries within them the potential to shape the world. And so, with each new sunrise, she embraced her fresh start, not as a token of luck or charity, but as a testament to resilience, integrity, and the unyielding human spirit that refuses to be unseen any longer. In the quiet aftermath of everything that had unfolded, Gloria stood by the window overlooking the sprawling city below, her heart heavy with the weight of what had been, and yet buoyed by the promise of what could be. The world, she realized, often overlooked those who moved silently in its shadows, the invisible threads holding the fabric together while the spotlight shone elsewhere. But truth, like a faint but persistent pulse, never stayed buried for long. It waited patiently for someone brave enough to listen, to see beyond appearances, to speak when silence seemed safer. Her journey was not just about exposing betrayal or changing the course of a powerful corporation. It was about the quiet dignity of courage, the profound impact of small acts, and the unseen heroes who walk among us every day. Gloria knew that many would never hear her name or understand her story, yet that did not diminish its importance. Because in every overlooked glance, every hushed observation, and every whispered warning, there was power. Power to protect, to heal, to transform. As she turned from the window, she carried with her a message far greater than herself: that integrity is not bound by status or wealth, that wisdom can come from the humblest places, and that the courage to stand for what is right is a light capable of piercing the darkest shadows. The world might try to silence the quiet ones, but their truths have a way of rising, relentless and undeniable. And so, Gloria stepped forward, not as just a cleaner or an analyst, but as a symbol of hope and resilience, reminding us all to listen carefully, to watch closely, and most importantly, to believe that even the smallest voice can change everything. Because sometimes, the greatest power lies not in what is loudly proclaimed, but in what is courageously whispered from the depths of the human spirit.